Good morning, Tallahassee. It's time to wake up War Chant on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi and Corey Clark.
We back! Wake up! I'm Aslan. He's Corey Clark. It's Wake Up War Chant, brought to you by For the Table Hospitality. The three great locations over in the College Town District, Madison Social, Township, and Central. Friendly reminder, they serve brunch till like 4 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays at Madison Social. So if you're like me and you wake up late, get your day started late, even Corey likes to do that as well, you can find refuge at Madison Social. We back, Corey. How are you, man? I missed your voice, man. Talk, please.
I know, man. I know. It's been too long. It's been like, 48 hours? That's way too long for you and I to go without talking.
Don't ever do that again to me, okay? Just never let it happen.
No, I
again.
won't. I know we get weekends off, but I still call you every day just so you can hear my voice for 40 minutes.
That's called friendship, folks. It's called dedication.
How was Jacksonville?
Jacksonville was cool, man. It was a very nice venue, the San Jose Country Club. That's why Corey and I were separated the other day. Gene Williams, the founder and administrator of WarChant.com, and myself went out to Jacksonville for stop number 1, spring booster tour for Willie Taggart, his first booster function as a head football coach at Florida State University. It was good, man. They sold it out, and they literally had an overflow room, Corey. So you pay, I don't know, like $150 to go golf and hang out with Willie, but I guess maybe you can show up. You have to pay at some form to get in there. There's no, grass or gas. Nobody rides for free, right?
Right.
So they had an overflow room that you basically just sat in, and it was a TV monitor in it. You just kind of heard him 50 feet over in the other room, just in this other room, like you're watching Willie Taggart on a television, listening to him when he was literally like 50 feet across the building. But it was good, man. Very good turnout. Lots of energy. Willie, just doing the chop, everybody doing the chop in unison. Good times, good feelings, good happy feelings, which I'm not fueled on, Corey. I need angst, I need anger, I need bitterness, I need skepticism, cynicism, But
yeah, no, that's your gas. That's what gets your motor running. But how long did he talk?
Well, this is the thing. Bless his heart. Gene Deckerhoff was the MC, and they had like a 4 Q&A back and forth between the two. Gene just kind of asked him about the music, he said music, memories, and something else. I'm all about alliteration and music, memories, and something else. But he asked Willie about the music playing at spring, why he does that. Willie gave the same answer. Listen, it makes the kids have fun. And kids these days, he joked about, they're always have their headphones on and they're walking around campus and they're not paying attention to anybody else. So why would it be any different? Ha, ha, ha. Big funny laughs in the room. Talked about bringing back all the old sort of players. That was the thing that kind of stuck out and resonated with Gene, was that Willie said he was very surprised when he came to Shreveport, a.k.a. the Shreve, a.k.a. Corey's land, that
right.
He was walking around the bowl with Deion Sanders and nobody was awestruck. The players just didn't seem to be impressed at all that Deion Sanders was at the game, and he kind of made it a point that they need to appreciate and respect that. So that was the thing that Gene thought was super cool. But they were supposed to have a Q&A, but Deckerhoff just kind of ended it. He asked like 3 or 4 questions back and forth with Willie. Willie gave the same sort of answers that you've heard him give when we've spoke to him for the last 15 practices for spring. And then he's like, all right, everybody, thank you so much. And then they start doing the chop, the chants playing. And then Gene's like, wait, we got some time now for Q&A. And I mean, by that time, Gene and myself, Gene Williams, we're getting ready to go ahead and kind of wrap the night up and record our segment of how things went. I don't think that lasted for more than 10 minutes, and I don't know what they really touched on. But, yeah, I mean, not even an hour, I wouldn't think. Not even an hour.
My dad took me to one of those with Bobby Bowden. It must have been the 91 season, before, like in April before the 91 season, when Florida State, everybody knew they were going to be number 1 in the country. Maybe it was it was the 91 season. And everybody knew Florida State was going to be number 1 or number 2 in the country when the season started. And I was 15 years old. And, it was – so they were going to be number 1 for the first time since 1988. And they – Bobby taught for probably 20 minutes and they opened up for questions. And they didn't have microphones and it was a huge venue. So my dad raised his hand and he called – Bobby called on him, said, yes, sir. And he goes, number 1, is Marvin Jones going to end up being the best defensive player you ever coached? And number 2 – when does our new rap song drop? Because it was only 3 years after the Seminole Rap, right. And that's the loudest. I mean, it was really loud. It was really loud laughter. Those moments when you're proud of your parents or you're proud of your dad.
Oh yeah.
That was a really cool. And I hadn't thought about that in 25 years, man. But yeah, that was just the roar of laughter from that question because it was still so fresh. It was just 3 years earlier that they had done the Seminole rap when they're the last time they were ranked number one. So he asked that, and even Bobby laughed. So that was a good memory. Hopefully people in Jacksonville were able to make memories like that on Monday night.
The thing that it wasn't a roar. I kind of probably oversold it in my report that I did with Gene, but Ed Burr, who's on the board of trustees for Florida State University, was just kind of going over all the changes they've done. God, they were dropping some ridiculous academic stats. And listen, I'm an alumnus of this fine university, and I love it. I'm proud of it. But something like 51,000 kids applied to only 6,000, incoming freshman seats with an average of a 4.2 GPA. Like, really? Really?
Is that true?
Are we the Harvard of the South now? Are we taking that mantle away from the people in Gainesville? Are we the Harvard of the South? I know they have this crazy weighted scale these days where a 4.0 is not, what a 4.0 meant to you and I back in our day. But I'm just like, dang, really? Like 51,000 kids, and we're only taking 6,000, and they're averaging a 4.2 GPA. Like, yikes, man! We're going to be a bunch of nerds. We're not going to care about football anymore. We're just going to try to find cures for diseases and stuff. That's boring.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think football will still find a way in there, even as this does become at least the Harvard of Tallahassee.
There we go. No offense to the fine folks at Florida High. But, yeah, so he mentions that's going on well. He mentions the women's beach volleyball. They're doing quite well. They feel confident they have a squad that could win a national championship. And then he talks about, in late November, early December, we had a coaching change when Jimbo Fisher informed Florida State that he would no longer be our head coach. And like a lot of people started clapping and applauding very loudly. And as I talked about on the quick little podcast that Gene and I did the other night, again, man, I don't know. I obviously am not in touch with my fellow man when it comes to Florida State fans, because that was one of the things I was like, dang, like they got really rowdy for that. You just figured it'd be one of those kind of, couple boos or just like, one or two just, Bronx cheer claps. But there was a palpable excitement from that. But my thing is, I've never been to one of these before. I mean, I would cover them in Mississippi and stuff. But not like a full blown out booster function. It wasn't one of these things where it was a larger sort of carnival atmosphere when Mississippi State or Ole Miss would come to Jackson, Mississippi. But I always thought these were things where a guy like Taggart sits up there and then it's okay. So tell us about the offense, coach. And he goes into fairly great detail, I would assume, about this is what we got at quarterback. This is what I like from him, and him. This is what we need to improve on. Running back, this is what I like to see. We need to improve on this. I almost thought it'd be one of those things where he's going to go into somewhat of depth and detail about each position, each side of the football. But there's no way they got that knocked out in the 10-minute Q&A that Gene and I missed out on when we were getting our gear ready to go. So it was just kind of more of the same. But I guess the folks that were in attendance, it wasn't more of the same because they haven't talked to him 15 times like Gene and I had over the spring. But people, listen, he does well, man. He's getting better. He's getting better. I think he was a little bit better, a little bit more engaging than he was in Tallahassee at the Car Museum after signing day. So. I don't know how many times he's done this. Quite honestly, in Oregon, I don't know how many booster stops you have in Oregon. And when you show up to, Bend or Portland or I don't know where else you go, Seattle, maybe you'll have a pretty good turnout. But, 400 people crammed into this, ballroom and at a golf course, it's different and it's new. But he seems to be doing well. I thought he did well.
Yeah, I think he's going to do really well at that kind of stuff because, again, I think it comes across as genuine. And also, I don't know how often he's done that. But when you talk about – I would think the things that people would want to hear from him, maybe not so much the nuts and bolts. That's what they are on War Chant for. You know what I'm saying? They're getting all their nuts and bolts from the likes of you and Ira. But for Willie, at least this first year, not so much, hey, how's the backup quarterback looking? How are we going to be in an offensive line? Who are our cornerbacks? It's the whole culture change. And you talked about them not being blown away by seeing Deion Sanders. I think it was more to the point that they didn't even think they were allowed to go say hey to him, maybe. Because I think in the previous staff, that would maybe have looked like you're not focused on your job, you're not ready for the game. And so you see this guy walk down, and maybe you don't have a connect. Maybe some of them didn't even know who he was. I can't imagine that. But I think a lot of them they're so indoctrinated to, this is serious stuff. This is where it's a warm-up. It's before the game. I need to focus on and listen to my position coaches and go through my drills and not mosey over to the head coach or the Hall of Famer and say, hey. I just think all that's changed, all that's flipped, and I think the Florida State fans can feel it. And I think he's going to sell out or close to sell out all these booster tours. I think he's going to get standing ovations, and I think they're going to be genuine standing ovations, like people wanting to show him how much they appreciate him, because not everybody can be at the spring game. That's one of Jeremy Pruitt's worst nightmares. Not every Florida State fan could be at the spring game. So him being able to, they come and show their support in this way, and obviously they give money, which is the biggest part of the deal. I think he's just going to knock all of this out of the park. I really do. I think he's going to hit a home run. Well, to use two baseball analogies, the whole spring. I think people are really going to like his message and are really going to want to celebrate this hire.
Yeah, he'll be out at Panama City later today. I think I'm going to head over westbound on lovely I-10 with our own Irish Affel managing editor to catch up once again with Willie. I think they've added something like 20 or 30 seats to that venue as well, because that one has been sold out. It is, though. I mean, part of me, I'm kind of developing a little bit of a cavity with all the sugary sweet stuff with Willie, and it's not his fault, and I'm not blaming him. I'm not upset at him. I really need a football game soon, though. It wouldn't hurt if we played a football game pretty soon, because
middle of October, I think you'll get that. The cavity won't be around anymore. Once he loses a game or two, all this stuff goes by the wayside.
And this isn't me being a grumpy guy. It's just like we've done it, I feel like, and again, when he talked about it was such a great turnout, or maybe whoever was setting him up was like, oh, it was such a great turnout a few weeks ago in Tallahassee. Make some noise if you were there. And there wasn't a lot of claps. So a lot of the folks at that venue the other night weren't able to come to Tallahassee and feel and experience the spring game. So that was new for them. So I'm not trying to take away their desire and their sort of enjoyment from it. But yeah, it's everybody. It's like younger folks, it's older folks, and everybody there is just super stoked. And he gets, standing applause when he was introduced. He gets on the stage and he's lowering his hands down, like telling everybody to quiet down, like he's like at home and trying to get the crowd to be quiet so he can talk about Jimbo's 17-word play call if he's like James Blackman. But then, it just starts, they play that, they turn up the chant, he starts doing the chop, everybody in the room is doing the chop, and I'm sure there hasn't been any sort of cool moment like that for those people that go to those events when the previous regime would show up to their town, if he did gift them with his appearance, if you will.
Right, yeah, and I only went to one in my time. I only went to one with Jimbo was there, and it was unique. It was different.
It's unique. How
it
so,
was he was no nonsense. He would get up there and he talked. The one I was at, I think it was in Panama City. It might have been Pensacola. But he went up there and talked, but it was about 15 minutes. It was really kind of XYZ, bang, bang, bang. This is what we're doing. This is who I think's good here. This is who I think's good here. And then that was about it. It's about 15 or 20 minutes with the head coach, and then I think he was out the door. And then again, I don't know what these are like for other schools around the country. I don't know what Saban does. I don't know what Kirby Smart does. I don't know what Mike Leach does. But it's a lot of glad handing. That's what spring booster tours are about. And I think this guy's going to be really good at it. Really good at it.
Yeah, and to your point, I think the nuts and bolts, hardcore stuff that the people who listen to this podcast love and they crave, they lust for us talking about Spider Y2 banana and a pulling guard and running to the short side of the field on 4th and short, although you had the boundary side fully open. By the way, they've polluted the Renegade Express thread on warchant.com, Corey. All the questions are about, somebody asked us something about what our favorite bar is that used to be in Tallahassee but is no longer there, and everybody's going on and on about their favorite memories from, bars that were in the 70s and 80s. So, folks, you yell at us because we keep talking nonsense. Well, the people out there, they want to talk about stuff that's not hardcore football. So,
in fact, I think when we get back from the break, we missed our Tender Tuesday update. So I think we need to revisit that and make it a Tender Wednesday, and let's hear what's going on.
All right. That's Corey producing the show from Atlanta. Thanks, Corey. Let's go to commercial break. We'll be right back. More Wake Up War Chant coming up on ESPN 97.9 Tallahassee.
The excitement of the Willie Taggart era at Florida State is in full force. That's why now's the perfect time to sign up at warchant.com. Warchant.com will have wall-to-wall coverage of spring football practice, including the latest on position battles, coach and player interviews, video features, and in-depth analysis. Warchant.com's three-team writers Gene Williams, Irish O'Fell, and Corey Clark have 50 years of experience covering the Seminoles. And Warchant.com is the only FSU media outlet with a dedicated, full-time recruiting analyst in Tallahassee with the latest on the 2019 class. For your 30-day free trial subscription, head to warchant.com and use promo code WARCHANT30.
Welcome back in. It's Wake Up War Chant. I'm Aslan Hajavandi, Director of Digital Media for WarChant.com. He's Corey Clark, Senior Writer and Columnist for WarChant.com. Hop on over to WarChant.com. Put in the promo code WarChant30. Get your free 30-day trial. This show brought to you by For the Table Hospitality. They got 3 awesome locations over in College Town. Check them on out. We'll get back to the booster tour real quickly. There was just kind of something I asked Willie that you and I had talked about previously. That I finally got around to asking him, so we'll play that for you. Gene and I kind of talked about it, but it's cooler if you hear it from the horse's mouth, or the head coach's mouth, rather, in this case. So anyhow, back to my love life, I guess, or the lack thereof, Corey. It's not going good right now. It's kind of, we're kind of in a slump right now. I don't know if I need to get a slump buster. But actually, I went out with a girl on Saturday night.
Okay.
And, oh, man, I don't want to say I got catfish. I shouldn't say I got catfish. This is the thing. For as skeptical and negative and pessimistic as I am, if I look at 5 photos of a girl and 4 of them are like, but one of them's like, okay, she seems pretty cute, I will gravitate towards, she's probably pretty cute, and maybe she just doesn't, she doesn't know what her best side is or what makes her look the best, and she just doesn't know how to pick the right photos. I'm like, she'll be fine. But yeah, really just wasn't digging it, man. Like, as soon as she sat down, I'm like, dang, like, your hair is about 4 inches shorter than it was in your photos. You were a blonde in the photos. You have burgundy hair right now. It's kind of a bummer, and we were very different. So, but yeah, there hasn't been, it's a bit of a cold snap right now, man. I need some good juju for you. Do you have any advice for me, man? You want to talk to Steph, maybe give me a female's perspective, then relay the word to me maybe later in the week or something like that?
I think the deal is to just cast a very wide net.
Okay.
Just, that's all you got to do. Cast a wide net. You get and then see where it goes. Go on a date every night with anyone.
Expensive though, man. It's like, dude, I went to a bar.
True.
I don't want to drop the name of the bar, but I got 2 cocktails. She got 2 cocktails, and it was like $70. Like, I'm not kidding. It was like $70. I walked out of there. I mean, I think I had 2 cocktails, and she had 2 as well. Because I didn't want to be like totally rude and just have one drink and be like, yeah, I'm just not feeling it. Bye. So I'm like, all right. That's the thing too. I'm kind of a jerk. I'm not proud of it, but I have like jerk tendencies. But I think we all agree with that. I'll never call a girl. I'll never be like, dang, like, you looked 30 pounds lighter in your photos. What's up with that? Like, I'll never do that. I'll just kind of grin and bear it and be like, all right, let me just, survive the night and then just, not talk to her again. Or if she asks me what's going on, I'll be like, that's kind of like the human response, right? It would be kind of weird if you were the guy that would tell her that. Like, wow, you looked a lot better in your pictures. What is this? Well, sometimes it's helpful. I'm going to go. It's helpful though, right? I mean, you're not going to improve your mistakes unless somebody points them out to you sometimes. But I do have a brunch date on Saturday. So that might go good. This girl's got 4 photos. All 4 of them look pretty solid. So, and the thing is, she's only like in town for a few weeks. She travels, I guess, a lot for work. So, she's only here for a little bit. So she's not here for Mr. Right. She's here for a good time. Mr. Right now. Yeah, I got you. You know what I'm saying? So maybe we'll get off the schneid here and we'll have something good to talk about next week in addition to maybe Mike Martin getting the wins record, because they lost to Stetson the other night, and that means and that means he needs 3 wins to get the record outright. Which means he would need to sweep Miami. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think the odds of that happening are? I think this actually is sort of I don't want to say best case for Florida State athletics, because if they win Friday, Saturday, then it sets it up for a Sunday sweep, and then for him to get the record and everybody will come out, right? Like, that would be huge. And then let's say it doesn't happen. And then maybe they go to Clemson and they get swept. And then he comes back the following week and then has an opportunity again. And then they keep selling tickets. I think they'd obviously rather him get it done sooner than later, but it feels like he'll probably get it done away from the field that, bears his name, which is a little bit of a bummer, but at the end of the day, it's still a phenomenal record for him. Well, yeah, they're going to have to win. I don't know if I believe that it's definitely going to happen away from Tallahassee. They have to win 3 of their next 6 games against Miami and Clemson. That's certainly not a guarantee. I mean, they could win 2 in Miami and then, get a scrub. I mean, come on, man. They could, but they can lose to anyone. If they keep committing 5 errors a game, they're not going to beat anyone that has a pulse.
I mean, they had, what did they commit? Like, they had 6 errors in one game in Boston. They had 5 errors last night, and that loss to Stetson. Man, that's, you're too late in the season to be playing like a Little League team. And I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they've got to do. I mean, I don't know. It's obviously been an issue for a good while now. They're fielding. I know they get a lot of grief for their base running. I don't know how bad they are in relation to other college baseball teams when it comes to base running. I have a tendency to believe they're all pretty bad. But fielding, you can look at the stats. They're just not any good at fielding, and they haven't been for a long while, and I don't understand it. But, again, that's a huge bugaboo when you have guys that, aren't getting as many strikeouts as you'd like anymore. If I was a pitcher, I'd feel like, man, I got to strike these guys out because I'm afraid Johnny and Slappy McGee behind me are going to kick it around all over the place. So, I mean, and I'm not calling those kids Slappy McGee. I'm saying if I was a pitcher, I would be calling them a lot worse than that when they kept committing 2-3 errors in an inning for me.
It's a bummer. But then again, this is something that if you listen to Seminole Headlines, if you listen to the Jeff Cameron Show, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m. right here on ESPN 97.9 Tallahassee Sports Monster. It's just a recurring theme, right? They're never picking up the ball. They're kicking it around. It happens. And again, I don't know how much of that's because the whole base running thing, right? We only watch Florida State baseball. I'm not watching TCU on a Thursday night. I'm not watching Oregon State on a Friday. So all I really know is what I'm seeing. But I don't know. It's a Wednesday. It's a Tuesday game against Stetson. I'm not going to get too, I'm not going to blow up too much. But right now they're 29-13. They only hit 5 hits the other night. Actually, that's 7 hits. I apologize. But only 3 guys come across. That's what almost concerns me more because that's Florida State's thing, right? Florida State's always going to have offense. They're always going to get on base. They're always going to bring guys around. It feels like they're not bringing enough guys around. It's May practically, man. This offense is nowhere near as potent as they should be. Or maybe we just overshot it in the preseason.
I think that the 2 losses in the preseason really hurt them more than we'll ever know. Now, I don't think Tyler Holton was going to be an All-American hitter. I don't think he was going to be like the guy at Louisville last year. But he was going to be their DH, and he's a good hitter. And you got to, and he would get on base. I think I was expecting him to hit close to 300 with 6 or 8 home runs and get on base a lot. And I really think Meat. I was talking to him the other day. He almost thinks that losing Tyler Daughtry was as big a loss as Tyler Holton. And, people might hear that and roll their eyes because Daughtry didn't do a whole lot last year, even before he got hurt. But he was going to be the starting second baseman who could field it, which would be a plus because the guys they've been running out this year cannot. But then also he was going to be their leadoff hitter and a guy that gets on base and scores a lot of runs. They don't have a leadoff hitter. They haven't really had one all season, and they don't have a second baseman. And both those, and they also, they've gone back and forth with the DH. I think Tyler Holton would have been their main DH or their first baseman. Him and Red Applin would have gone back and forth in those 2 roles. Those were 2 big losses in the lineup. Not Drew Mendoza, Cal Raleigh, or Jackson Luke-esque losses, but close enough to it. I mean, you lost 2 starters, essentially 2 starters out of your batting lineup before the season even started. And the other guys that have potential are freshmen that are, learning how to be college hitters. They're just not, they don't have, the person that weirdly, because he leads the team in home runs, but, Jackson Luke should be better than this. He shouldn't be a 230 hitter. That's absurd for as much talent as he has. And I don't know if it's because it's a money year. He's trying to jack everything out of the park, and he does have 10 home runs, which is one of the leaders in the ACC. But, man, he should be better than this. He's a 300, a 350 type hitter, and his average has gone down his junior year when it should keep going. You should get better every year, not regress. And his batting average now is in the 230s, and that's just not what you need out of that guy. He's too good a hitter to strike out as much as he is, and to have so many kind of weak, non-competitive at bats.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit concerned early in the season, but I didn't think it would be prolonged. Obviously, I wanted to see him get off to a better start than he did, but it's been prolonging itself. Again, he missed a few games because I think he had a foot injury, so maybe that's something that's kind of hindering him. He seems like a gamer. I don't know if he's got the Cal Raleigh gene in him where he refuses to leave the field at all times, it seems like, but he could be battling something that we don't know, and that might be hindering him. So, but you're not going to get any more healthy. That's not the way it really works in baseball, so maybe he can figure something out in his swing to compensate for things. So, again, Florida State now 29-13. They fall to Stetson 5-3 on Tuesday over in DeLand, Florida. They'll host Miami Friday, Saturday, Sunday at Hauser. Again, Mike Martin, 11, 3 wins away from surpassing Augie Garrido as the winningest coach in baseball history.
In the schedule is you got 3 at Miami, you got 3 versus Miami at home, you got 3 at Clemson the next weekend, and then you have a midweek game following Clemson against Jacksonville. So if it hasn't been done at Clemson, I mean, I would be really surprised if they clinch it at home. So if they not somehow, but if they go and get swept at Clemson, then you're either going to do it Wednesday night against Jacksonville or Friday night against Mount St. Mary's.
Woo! Now that's poetic. I don't know how, but I'm sure there's something in there that we could find that make it poetic that Mike Martin sets the record against Mount St. Mary's.
Do you know Mount St. Mary's nickname?
The Gales?
No, that's St. Mary's.
Oh,
this is Mount St. Mary's.
Oh,
this is the St. Mary's that's on the Mount.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can go ahead and let us know.
The Mountaineers.
Oh, nice.
Kind of the Mount St. Mary's Mountaineers. That doesn't really roll off the tongue.
The Florida State Floridians. Maybe that's what happened when the society takes away the Native American from us. Then perhaps it'll just be like,
it'll be the Floridians. It's the Houston Texans. That's about as dumb a nickname as anyone's ever come up with.
Well, no, Texans. So much pride Texas has in who they are that.
Yeah, but why not the Houstonians? What do you call someone from Houston? A Houstonian?
A
Houstonite?
A Houston? Is that? Can you say just a Houston? He's a Houston.
He's a Houston? Yeah, the Houstons.
Yeah.
The Atlanta Georgians. That's just ridiculous. I know they have pride in their state. Everybody does. Well, most everybody. Maybe people in Florida roll their eyes at this state sometimes, but most people have pride in their state.
Yeah. I did a terrible job of producing. That's why I let Corey call the shots. I teased it in the previous block or actually earlier in this block. We're not able to get to because I got to go to commercial break. But I did ask Willie the other day, and it was something that I'd bounced off Corey previously. This is a team that last season, the football team, obviously, 2017 went into the year preseason ranked number 3 in the nation, but finished 7-6. So on the spectrum of being awesome and getting into the playoff and being extremely average and just making a third-tier bowl game, where does he see the 2018 team potentially striving and arriving at? He'll give us an answer. You might not like it, but hey, I asked it. I'm trying. He's Corey Maslon's Wake Up War Chant. I'll be right back.
You're locked in to Wake Up War Chant on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
He's Corey and Maslon. This is Wake Up War Chant, ESPN 97.9 Tallahassee. If you're listening to us on the airwaves, over the radio airwaves. If you're on the podcast, I hope you're enjoying it, digesting it with whatever program that you do use. If you'd be so kind, maybe hop on over to iTunes. I don't know. Subscribe. Maybe rate it. Give it 5 stars. Maybe give it a review, a positive review. Talk about Corey's eloquent penmanship when, he writes his insider reports on the baseball team or just his overall general, the pluses that he brings to this table to make this show go off without it being a total disaster. Corey's
I've got a lot of stuff working for me. I got a lot of pros and not many cons.
No.
By the way, did you see on War Chant they did somebody asked their favorite War Chant staffer?
I saw it, but I didn't click on it because I assumed there's probably going to be a lot of smart alecky stuff about me and probably a whole bunch of Corey's the best. I love Corey. Corey's so funny.
Well, number one, a lot of people call me the Coracle now, which I'll be honest with you, I'm really happy that nickname is. I mean, I don't want to say it's taken off. It's not like my kid calls me that or anything.
Right.
But I was even walking around the spring game 2 Saturdays ago. Multiple people said, "Hey, there's the Coracle."
No,
so it's like, all right, well, that's and not even just at the War Chant meet and greet thing, but later on down in the tailgate areas, a couple people said, "Oh, there's the Coracle." So that's taken off. So that's cool. I'm really happy about that nickname. But a lot of there were people that said you. Most people said Ira, which I mean, I don't know what they're smoking. I have no idea what anyone can see in that guy. That's just me. I've known him too long.
We need to do a Wake Up War Chant photo shoot, and I want you to be like an old-timey, like 20s bankers 3-piece suit, and then like a monocle. I think like the Oracle with a monocle.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Like Mr. Peanut, but with style and swag. And then
maybe a mustache too.
Yeah, bring it out a little bit. Let it grow a little bit. Twist it at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay.
I don't know
all right.
what I'll look like.
I see what you're doing. I like it.
I'll just be some sort of silly bastard in the background, just holding on to the coattails of the Coracle.
But one guy gave you credit, and it was a post that I liked. He said, I like Aslan because he's taught me that no matter how unreasonable my takes are, I can still be I can still speak them without worrying about what anybody else thinks.
Oh, that's cool. So he's like making fun of me for not making sense. Whatever, man.
It was fun. I liked it. It was funny. He was actually much more articulate than that. And again, when people poke fun at you, trust me, being on headlines for as long as I've been on headlines, in every headliner question we get pokes fun at me, that means they like you, buddy. And I think for the most part, people like you. Hey, by the way, before we get into what we're not going to tease it again, you're going to play the Taggart thing.
Yeah.
But is there a hierarchy when it comes to Tinder as to what date you suggest? Like, hey, let's get drinks. Hey, I want to go to dinner.
Yeah, dinner.
Hey, let's do brunch.
So there's no middle ground.
Let's get coffee.
Yeah, there's no middle ground for me, Corey. I either want to get married and pop out children here pretty soon. We need a quarterback probably in the class of 2041. I can't even do math. That'd be way too late, right? That'd be like my kid would be 30 years old if I popped that out soon.
You'd be Chris Winkie. He'd go play minor league baseball for a few years.
It's either that or I just want a lease. I just want a test drive. I don't want to incur any debt. So
no, right? But how do you get to the point where like one is a brunch, one is drinks, and one is like an actual dinner where you go to dinner? Like, is it you have a couple extra conversations and that person goes to dinner?
No, like, you feel it out. You're like, listen, man, there's girls that I swipe on that I'm like, dang, I could bring her around the guys and be like, check it out. You guys make more money than I do, but my wife's hotter than you. And then there's girls where it's like, all right, I could wake up the following morning and not totally hate myself and be okay with it. So there's a spectrum of attractiveness and what their career is that makes them marketable. And then it's just like, yeah, you just kind of feel it out. If they're very busy with things, it's like, all right, we can just grab like a drink like on a Saturday night, or if like they're super cool, I'm like, all right, like I'll take you out to brunch. But like dinner to me, I feel like is okay. Like this is like a grown up date. This isn't a hookup or whatever they want to denigrate the way that men and women go hang out these days. So yeah, that's just right. Yeah, it's all feeling it out, and then the amount of time and money I want to invest in something. Usually the girls who are in their early 20s, it's like, let me just grab like a coffee with you because I probably don't want to sit around at dinner with you for an hour and talk about, Kanye West's new album and what Cardi B is up to, all the kids, that's the kids know what I'm talking about out there. Make some noise, kids. Wake Up War Chant, 5-star review. Leave it on the iTunes.
Wake up.
Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Moving around. No more nonsense. Back to football. So since you are the Coracle, we'll eventually make you give us a long-term prognostication on Florida State football. But again, we're not talking a lot about expectations, and maybe we'll get to that point, I assume, once fall camp rolls around. But right now it's just, what's the culture like? What are you trying to do differently, Willie? How is everything going? One of the guys from the Jacksonville station was out there. I know you don't want to, give us a guess on your final record, and then Willie cut him off. Was like, nope, I don't do that. I'm not going to tell you what I think our record's going to be at the end of the year. And then later on, I'm like, well, listen, this team, like, I don't know where we are. Like, I don't know in terms of, is this a rebuild? Is this a reload? What is all going on? What needs to be done to make this team a playoff team? Because that's what this program wants to be. This is what this program is you really can't say accustomed to. They've only been there once. But in terms of competing for national titles, that's what is successful around here. So I asked Willie straight up, I'm like, listen, this team had a bunch of talent, good enough to be thought as the third best team in the nation last year, but they ended up being pretty lousy. So where are we on that sort of hierarchy?
Whatever our team want to be, it's going to be up to our guys. We can't let anybody else define us. We got to define ourselves by the way we play. So we know the expectation here at Florida State, and that's why everybody signed up to be here. So we're excited about the challenge and look forward to it.
You included, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm like, all right. So that sounds like a very good non-answer. It's a total non-answer, but sounds like he knows what he signed up for, which is encouraging. No?
Oh, for sure. But also, yeah, I mean, we knew that anyway. And yeah, of course he wouldn't give an actual answer as to what he thinks the record should be, because I would hope he'd say 13-0. I mean, it would be weird if he'd be like, well, we're going to lose Clemson. Notre Dame's going to be a bear. I don't see how we beat Miami with that defensive line. Like, he's not going to think like that or talk like that. But yes, of course he knows the expectations. And he needs to enjoy. No matter, look, Dabo knew the expectations at Clemson, and quite frankly, they weren't that high when he took over because of the preceding, 15 years. But now those expectations are to a point at Clemson where he's a victim of his own expectations. If they go 9-3 one year, it'll be a disappointment. When 7 years ago, that would have been a rousing success. And I think that's where Willie Taggart hopes to get one day. Right now, I think he knows these fans would be okay with 9 wins. He might not be, but his fans would be okay with 9 wins this year. But 2 or 3 years from now, you can't just be coaching at Florida State and straight losing 3 and 4 games a year and everybody be okay with it. There is the good vibes that are happening right now that's obvious and natural with a new coach. But that's, that'll run out soon. One bad year and it might run out. And I mean like 6-7 or 7-6, that all that stuff will be over. But even go 10-3 next year, and then the year after that win 8 or 9 games and take a step back. It's the same thing. But Florida State is, what are there, 8 programs in the country that have expectations as high as Florida State? That's why you're getting $5 million, man. That's why you have 60,000 at your spring game. That's why you're selling out booster tours, because of the passion, because of the fans, and because of those expectations.
Some dude posted this on the Tribal Council. It was titled "Taggart Overkill." He spelled Taggart wrong. As a Florida State graduate, it's become a little ridiculous to me, the overkill of this hire. Let's face it, the guy has a losing record, has nothing on his resume to make you think it's going to be a national championship coach. So why don't we just wait and see if he follows the suit of the Charlie Strong, Randy Shannons, and Tyrone Willinghams, or if he makes history. History says more than likely he will be fired in 4 years as the others were. I hope not, but I found...
What were by the way, can we go back real quick? Why did he use those 3 examples?
Probably because I think they're all Aries. I think they're all...
Probably,
their sign.
Those 3 men are all... I think they were all born in wherever the Aries is, September. I don't know my signs.
I don't know. I should probably know that better. I probably wouldn't be single if I knew how to find my horoscopical astrological match. Yeah, I know what he's trying to get at there. I think we all know what he's trying to get at there. I don't necessarily agree with that line of reasoning, but I don't think that was too much of a dog whistle. But I guess to the most of the people that replied to it, they pretty much told him to grab his hood and his kerosene if he's going to go light things on fire, if you know what I'm talking about. But
it's odd to use those 3 examples.
Yeah, well, I mean,
to me,
yeah, I mean, who else could? Well, I mean, because Charlie Strong had like an 11-win season. He went to a BCS.
Well,
bowl.
I mean, what about Jimbo? What about Kirby Smart? What about Pruitt? I mean, he used 3 black coaches as examples of not getting too excited about Florida State's black head coach. Why?
Yeah.
The context of Florida State, the situation of Florida State, is worlds different than what Randy Shannon took over. Worlds different, and that's a credit to Jimbo. But Florida State has proven it can win big in this era. And, Texas hasn't won. I mean, I guess they were good with Colt McCoy's last year, but they've been bad for a decade now. And Miami hasn't been relevant in 15 years. Notre Dame, they have one good year every 4. Florida State is one of the preeminent programs in the country. You have a great recruiter, no matter his skin color. You have a great recruiter at a place that already gets exceptional talent and has a great history and tradition and a really passionate fan base. Couple that with a great recruiter, man, that's why everybody's excited. He's going to bring incredible recruiting classes here. You would take your time. You're not supposed to be excited about a hire until he wins a national championship?
All right, fine. Jeez, cool.
Then Georgia fans aren't excited. You know what I mean?
No.
That guy hadn't won anything yet.
I'll say Charlie is a fair comparison, I think, because Charlie won, 11 games at Louisville?
I agree with that. The other two, Randy Shannon was never head coach. He was an assistant on a staff that got fired. And then Tyrone Willingham was pretty good at Stanford.
Yeah. I mean,
I think Charlie Strong's a fair comparison.
I mean, my comparison more along the lines of the fact that fan base had a coach that was winning 10 games steady, but they were over it. And they went and hired Charlie Strong, and it totally backfired on them. But as much of a grumpy SOB as I am, there's no way he goes 7-6.
You wouldn't think. You just wouldn't think. There'd have to be a ton of injuries.
Even they can't. I don't even see this guy going 8-5. I don't know. I don't want to say 10 wins should be your floor at Florida State. But maybe once every 5 years you can get away with, maybe once every 3 years you can get away with a 9-win season. But if the things that this fan base complained about Jimbo before and after he won the national title, just explicably or inexplicably rather losing games to teams like, Georgia Tech and, North Carolina, that's the kind of stuff that at the very least, should you not expect that is now purged from the system with a guy like Willie?
For sure. And, but, again, I just think it's a tough schedule. And I think they're going to blow out more teams than they have in the past, but they're going to be in some close games, and they'll have to figure out ways to win these close games because they didn't do a great job of that against good teams the last few years. If it was close, they typically found a way to lose against good teams. So that's something that's part of the culture, that's part of the DNA that you got to figure out. And I like that you said explicably. Does that word ever get used? I've never used the word explicably, but it must be a word, right? Because inexplicably would be the opposite of explicably.
Yeah, it's like Aslan's takes are explicably bad. It's because he doesn't produce.
Corey's hair is explicably gone.
Yeah.
It's weird that we never hear that word.
Like, these aren't mutually exclusive things, but I think we harp so much on the fact that these bizarre losses, 2012 to NC State and losing to losing just all these ACC
the Wake
teams,
Forest 11.
The middle of the pack teams that they would lose are inexplicable. But then I think we fail to remember just how much he dominated the guys in Gainesville and Coral Gables. And like, if I have to pick, I will take losing to Wake Forest if you can beat Florida. I think 99% of you hopefully agree with this right now, and I'm not saying that so that we can all agree on something, but let's be reasonable with the expectation. Again, I don't think these are mutually exclusive things. I don't think you can dominate your rivals at the expense, or maybe it is the expense of a team like Wake Forest, because maybe you're so dialed in for those games and you realize just how important they are that maybe you are a little bit more lax when you have to get on a plane and go to Winston-Salem. But
in the loss to Wake Forest that he had in 11, he was a new coach. It was like his 15th game, and he learned stuff from that. Like, why not play EJ Manuel if he's healthy enough to play in the second quarter? He was healthy enough to start the game, and yet he only played him after Clint Trickett really struggled. Well, that's a coaching error, and you got to imagine he didn't make mistakes like that again. And, NC State, same thing. He took his foot off the gas. He coached really, really conservatively and ended up costing them that game. He did. I believe he did, because that offense didn't score. They did weird things in the red zone. They didn't try a field goal that was well within range that would have put them up 9. He coached scared. And I think I thought he kind of got that out of his system. But maybe that was just because he had who he had at quarterback. Because, again, it felt like maybe in the last year or two it came back to that, where we're very slow tempo, punting a lot from the opponent's side of the field, never really going for it on fourth down, never taking shots. All that stuff kind of seemed to rear its ugly head again. But I just think Willie Taggart's going to lose games he shouldn't lose. Every coach does. Theoretically, every game Alabama has lost for the last decade is a game they shouldn't have lost.
I had them losing to Auburn in the preseason. I really did. I called that. I'm like, they'll lose that one on the Plains.
Right, but Auburn gave up 40-something points to UCF. How did Alabama lose that game? Saying everything being equal, talent for talent, Alabama is always more talented than everybody on the field, but they never go undefeated. No. They always lose a game. The difference is, I think anyway, you have to play really, really well to beat Alabama. Typically, they don't typically beat themselves. Yeah. They make you go and beat them. Typically, they don't turn it over 7 times like Florida State did against Oregon. They don't just can't get off the field like Florida State against Houston. All these examples you could have used from the last 4 or 5 years. They don't do that, but they do lose games. It does happen. And, there have been a couple games where they got lucky to win, or they're not lucky. That's not the right word. They found a way to win late, even when they didn't play well. To me, Florida State against good teams, if they didn't play well, like I'm not talking about Dukes and Wake Forest that they should always beat, like this past year when they did beat them. But Florida State didn't really play that well against Miami either. They still had a chance to win it, and they should have won that game, and they blew it at the end. To me, Alabama, I don't know what that's about. But Willie Taggart will have some of these games. I don't think he's going to have as many of those games because, again, it goes back to, man, when you got more talent, 15 extra plays a game is 15 more chances to show that you have more talent and make a couple plays that win a game. Don't shorten the game, lengthen the game, and that's what he's going to do. Now, they're going to be 5-hour games, so you're going to get out of Doak Campbell at 1:30 in the morning these days, this year, but still, man, it beats the alternative.
Really short segment coming up, wrapping things up. It's Wake Up War Chant. Be right back.
You're locked in to Wake Up War Chant on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
All right, man, we got to make this nice and snappy. Programming note for Wake Up War Chant. We will have a very brief podcast tomorrow. It'll probably be Ira Schofel and myself literally in the car driving back from Panama City Beach and Willie's second stop on his booster tour. We'll give you some thoughts on that, and then myself and Corey will reunite for Friday's Extravaganza Renegade Express. It'll be a big blowout. But in between those two, the NFL draft, Corey. So there's, I don't know, is there 6 guys that are threw their names in the hat? Maybe 7, 8 if you count Heart of a Lion, Jalen Wilkerson. But let's go through right here, man. Derwin James, I think we both agree he's going first round, correct?
Yes, correct. Early first round, top 12 picks.
Josh Sweat, where do you have him going?
I have him in the third round. I think a team will be intrigued enough by his combine numbers, but I do think the tape is going to scare people away from drafting him in the first 2 rounds and investing that kind of money in him.
I agree. I also have him as a third. Derek Nottie.
I think I had him in the 4th round.
Oh, stop it, man. So do I.
Maybe the 5th?
I have him going in the 4th round. Tavares McFadden.
I believe I had him in the 5th round.
Oh, all right. We differ there. Give me all your Tavares McFadden stock. I got him in the 3rd round. I think he's going to hang around and have a pretty decent career.
Yeah, I just think we go back to the tape, which was not great this past season for sure, which was a money year, which would concern some folks, and then also the stuff at the combine, that's really slow for a corner.
Yeah, that's the stuff you're talking about. Auden Tate, I got him going 4th round. What do you say, friend?
I think I went with the 5th round with him too.
Yeah.
I think he'll play. I think he's the guy other than Derwin, I think he's the guy that, I said that the other day, but if he gets in the right system and the right situation, he could have the second longest career out of any of these guys that get drafted. I think he could be I think he could be a receiver into his 30s if he finds the right situation.
I think that's McFadden. I really think McFadden's going to be a good pro. I just think that this was a very poor sort of staff. I don't think they emotionally lifted this kid up and gave him the proper skills. Matthew Thomas, I got him going to the 6th round.
Same here. I think somebody will take a chance on him because of those measurables and because he does have some good. When he was engaged and eligible, he does have some good stuff on tape that go along with those measurables where you can see, okay, there's a guy that could make a difference and maybe play in the league for a good long while. I also think he's a guy that can play on special teams. He's
got that sort of Christian Jones, Vince Williams thing where we might forget about him, and then sure enough, he might just kind of sneak and make a roster and kind of hang around for a few years. So I'm rooting
How about
for
Vince
him.
Williams, by the way? That's crazy. That guy's going to be a 10-year pro.
Yeah, awesome, man.
Good for him.
Ryan Izzo.
I think I had him in the 7th round, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I don't know how he's valued among tight ends. I don't know how much tight ends are even valued in the NFL. 7th round or undrafted. I wouldn't be surprised by either one. Maybe somebody takes a chance on him a little earlier than that. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if he went undrafted. I wouldn't be surprised if he got picked on the 3rd day somewhere.
I hope he's got a really good-looking girlfriend or fiance, or ends up in a town that's got good-looking women, because I just feel like if he would have came back here, he'd still would have been living a pretty good life. What did I want to touch on? I will say this about Josh Sweat.
Maybe not the Turtles that are in town. Maybe they're glad he's gone.
Too soon. The thing,
too soon.
The thing I wanted to mention, we only got about a minute left here. The thing I wanted to mention about Josh Sweat and Auden Tate was listening on the way back from Jacksonville. I had the Todd McShay talking to our guy, Ryan Russillo. Ryan Russillo is my guru. I love Ryan Russillo. I try to be like him, but I fail miserably. I fall short of him in the cross every single day. Mm-hmm. There aren't a lot of defensive ends. There's not a lot of pass rush specialists, and there aren't a whole lot of wide receivers. I think Calvin Ridley's the only first-round pick receiver, and then there's some DJ Moore guy from I don't even know, and then I think Cortland Sutton from SMU. So there's not a lot of big-name wide receivers, and in terms of edge rushers, it's Bradley Chubb, and then I think it's some guy from like Texas San Antonio. So ultimately, maybe the tape isn't that good, but they'll think that he was playing better competition. I think maybe we might be undervaluing Josh Sweat and Auden Tate because it feels like those two positions, there's a very large dearth or a vacuum to be filled, and maybe those guys with their measurables and the school they played for might actually get them a little bit higher than people initially thought.
I hope so, man. They were always, look, I'm certainly not an NFL draft guru. I know that's shocking, but so I certainly could be wrong, and I hope I am wrong. I hope they both go higher than I projected them, and I hope they have long careers. They were always good to talk to, and they seem like nice guys, and I think they'll represent Florida State University really well. They're nice guys off the field, it seems like, and they were always good to deal with.
15 seconds. Josh Rosen's going to be the best quarterback from this class. Who do you think will be the best quarterback?
Oh, golly. Okay, sure, I'll go with him. There's something about Mayfield that intrigues me, although I can't stand him as a person. There's something about him. He seems so cocky and so chip on his shoulder type kid that he might go and try to prove everybody wrong and want to be the best. He might be the next Brett Favre.
Oh, he's going to try like hell, but he's going to fail, I think. Hopefully we didn't.
All right, hey, I'd be perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, he's Corey Aslan. We'll be back together Friday. We'll be on a show Thursday, myself and Ira. Have a great one. Corey, you want to say anything before we go?
I love everyone.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.